Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Payam, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to take your Zoom videos and make them look like this. That's right, the complete process from A to Z. I'm going to show you everything, all those cool background effects, how they've moved around every participant. I'm going to show you the entire process. So even if you have never edited a video in your life, don't worry. Even if you're not a techie, I got you. Even if you've never done any of this, no sweat. I'm going to show you the entire process, like I said, from start to finish. And I won't even edit this video because I want you to see me do it live so that you see that with the right software and knowledge of the free resources, it's not that hard, okay? Few caveats. Number one, I am on a Mac. You can use a Windows. Number two, I'm using Adobe Premiere as the software of choice for editing. And finally, number three, in this example video, you'll see the name of each participant with a little bit of a cool burned effect next to their name. I'm not gonna go over that specifically just because it's outside the scope of this tutorial, but everything else I'm gonna show you, okay? Let's get started. So first thing first, let's open up Premiere. So I'm gonna click on Premiere. Good thing for us is we don't need to change a lot of things. We can keep the default settings pretty much as is. So I'm going to click on New Project. Then I'm going to name the project. Let's just call it Zoom. And then I'm going to select where do I want to save it. I'm fine with it there. You can save it wherever you want. All these settings, don't touch them. You're fine. Hit OK. All right. So if you've never worked with a Premiere before, this may give you a heart attack the first time you see it. Don't worry. Today, I'm your doctor. It's not as bad as you think. And we're going to walk through this entire process. So, a few things I want to show you. Up top, you got a lot of different tabs. For the most part, you're going to be in the editing tab, okay? I'll tell you why later, but I don't want to give you information that's not necessary. So just be in the editing tab. It'll make your life easier. Number two, before I show you how to import your Zoom video file, make sure that when you do record the meeting, that you go up to the top right where it says Gallery View, and you make sure that that is selected so that everybody in the meeting is of the same size. It just gives you the most flexibility in post-production, which is where we are now, to maintain the highest level of video quality. Okay, so that's what I would recommend. So make sure you do that before you actually hit record. You go up to the top right and you select Gallery View. Okay? All right, so let's import the file. So we're going to go to the bottom left here, right click and go to import. Then we're going to go to documents. Again, this is where my Zoom video file is saved. For you, maybe somewhere else. Zoom, there we go. And then I'll hit import. Okay. And then I'm going to bring the Zoom video file here to the timeline. Now you're probably like, what the hell? This looks a little different. Yes, don't worry. You're going to have humans in your meeting. I set this up specifically for this training just so you can see me work with each participant. Again, you'll understand a bit why I've organized it like this, but don't worry, you're gonna have real humans here. So I've set this up as a 3-person meeting, 2 interviewers, 1 guest. For you, it may just be 2 people, it may be 10 people, it doesn't matter. This still applies. Everything I'm gonna show you still applies. This just gives you a foundation. Okay, so now, first thing first, there is a rule that I need to tell you. When you want to edit the video, you need the same number of clips as you have participants. So in this case, we got 3 people in the meeting and we got 1 clip here, which means we need to clone it twice. So we have 3 clips for 3 people, okay? To do that, we will hold Option on the keyboard, click the clip, make sure it's selected, drag up. That clones it. We'll do the same thing 1 more time. So now we have 3 clips, right? Next, we're gonna rename them to make our lives a lot easier. So I'll start with the top. I'll go to right click, rename, and then I will type in interviewer number 1. I'll go to OK. Then I'll go to the second one. I will rename as guest. The third one, I will rename as interviewer number 2. Okay? Now we want to crop each participant so that we have full control over every single person in the meeting. That is key. To do that, we're going to go up to the Effects tab up here. All right, so I'm going to go to the Effects, and I want to make sure that you have this area visible, the Effects area. If you do not see this, you go up to Window, you make sure you got a check mark next to effects, and then it'll be there for you. By the way, in Premiere, sometimes when you're working, things like this can happen, and you could just maybe faint because you're like, what? Don't worry. If at all this happens and you need to kind of like start over, all you need to do is go to Window up top, Workspaces, reset to save layout, and boom, everything is back to normal. I can't tell you how many times I do this on a daily basis. So quick little tip there for you. Next, we're gonna make sure that we drag the correct effect into each clip. So we're gonna look for an effect called crop. I will type that in. I found it. Click, hold, drag it over to interviewer number 1, okay? Now, up here on the left where it says effect controls, you're gonna see that we have crop with all the crop features. If you do not see this, make sure you go up to top where it says window and you have a check mark next to effect controls. That'll put that there for you if it's not there already, all right? Next, we want to crop everything but interviewer number 1, okay? But before we do that, let's hide the guest file and the interviewer number 2 file by toggling this eyeball right here, or this eye icon. All right, so now we just are working with interviewer number 1. See how it's the only one that's visible? You'll understand why in a second. So, interviewer number 1, now we need a crop. Where are they? They're in the top left, so let's crop. From the bottom, we'll do about 50%. Okay, so we just cut everything from the bottom. And the right, we'll do 50% as well, because that looks like that's what it's gonna be. Done. Now we'll do the same thing with guest. I will hide interviewer number 1 and I will make guest visible. Okay, again, we haven't touched this file or this clip. We only touched the first one. So we're gonna do the same thing. Go to crop, go to guest, drop it on top. Same process, but now we're cropping and isolating the guest. So bottom, 50%. Left, 50%. Again, these numbers may be different for you depending on how many participants were in the meeting. Okay, so I'm just giving you kind of a basic understanding of what you're gonna need to do, all right? And finally, we'll do the same thing with interviewer number 2. So I hit guest now, I make interviewer number 2 visible. I'll drag the crop all the way to interviewer number 2. Then I will go to top 50%, or in this case, 51 actually. For you, it's probably gonna be 50%. I've set the training up this way, but don't worry about the details. So even if it's 50, 51, you can always go back later and make modifications, okay? So that's the top, and then the left and right is probably gonna be 25%, okay? I'm just guessing right now because the background is black, we're not getting any feedback given that there's no one else on the bottom half of this video. Just put 25 for now, and you can make modifications later, okay? All right. So we've isolated all 3 now, okay? So it kind of doesn't even look like we did anything, but we did. Next, we want to find those cool effects and background that we saw in the example video and put them in ours, all right? Now, before we do that, one thing I want to explain is anytime you want to put stuff behind the participants in the video, you have to put them underneath the clips, all right? So you can see we have 3 clips here. So what does that mean? We have to highlight all 3, move them up so that we have room to place things underneath and thereby behind them, okay? Now, in this example video, my guess is they probably have 3 elements, sort of a textured background, some smoke, and some fire embers, okay? I'm just guessing here, but let's just assume they have at least 3. So if that's the case, we need to move them up not just one more time, but a second time. So we have basically space for 3 more elements, okay? Now we need to go get them. So let's go get them. Let's go to Chrome, and we're gonna go to a website called Videezy, okay? Which is spelled VIDEEZY.com. And we're gonna look for a smoke effect, okay? This looks good enough for me, Mystical Smoke. Pick whatever you want, have fun with this thing, you know? Go to click free download. I'll close that. I'll click it again. And that's gonna do its thing. So once that is done downloading, we're gonna also need a fire element. So I will close this, I will type in fire. And there we go. Again, just pick whatever you like. Doesn't need to be perfect. You can always change these things later. You just wanna get something going because it's gonna help you build momentum and keep the creative juices flowing. All right, so done, or it's okay, there we go, fire. And now we need a texture background. For textures like that, I like to go to unsplash.com, okay? So I'll start from Unsplash, I'll type in texture, and I'm gonna go back to the image you just saw, which is this one. You can pick whatever you want, click it, and then hit download, okay? So now I have all 3 elements downloaded. I need to import them into Premiere, just like we did at the start. So I'm gonna right click, go to import, I'm gonna select them all. What I'll do is I'll hold Command on the keyboard and I'm gonna select all of them. So fire, here's the image, and here's the smoke. And then I'll go to import, okay? Now I will bring the image to the bottom and I'm gonna drag it all the way across, okay? The image, I can tell, is much bigger than the video file Zoom gives us. And those other 2 videos we downloaded, the smoke and the fire, they're of 4K resolution. Now, I'm not gonna get into all the details about the different resolutions. Just know this. Anytime you work with anything bigger than HD when you're editing a Zoom video, in this case, 720p actually, you wanna make sure that you reduce the size so it matches the frame of the video. So I'll show you how that works. Now that we have the image selected, we can right click and we go to set to frame size. Now you can't see it, but I see a little bit of it back here in the background. So now that we've reduced it, I can go to scale on the left and make sure if you don't see this, you go to window, effect controls, and you have a check mark here. Then I will just bring the image up. There we go. See? And we don't want to make it so big. We just want it so it clears the edges, okay? But when you go and you right click and you do set to frame size, it gives it back to its regular setting under the current constraints that we have for this project. We'll do the same thing with the smoke. I'll click on smoke, bring it on top. There we go. Now, anytime you have an asset like this where there's a black background, to make that transparent, what you're gonna do is you're gonna select the file and you go to blend mode, and then you're gonna go to screen. Okay, what that does is it essentially makes all the black transparent, and now you can kind of see the smoke coming in from the back, okay? Good enough for now. Let's also add the fire. So we're gonna click on fire, bring that over. Same process, right? We can see the black, so we're gonna click on fire, go to blend mode, change that to screen. I can see already that it's a lot bigger. So what I'm gonna do is right click, set to frame size, and you can see it kind of reduced all the fire embers. So now I'm just gonna bring it down. Actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna do that. I'm just gonna press Command Z to undo what I just did. So there we go. By the way, anytime you make changes, like if I accidentally do this, you can press Command Z if you're on a Mac or Control Z if you're on a Windows to undo the change. Okay, so now here we are, fire. Okay, so we got the fire, we got the smoke, we got the texture background. Okay, it's starting to come together. I'm gonna bring down the opacity of this image just a little bit to make it a little darker. Actually, whoops, made a mistake. Here we go, opacity. There we go. Okay, we just want to have a little bit of a texture visibility. Okay, that's starting to look a little bit better to me. Okay, so now that we've done that, we want to move the participants around. Because we're talking to the guest, we want the guest sort of have the spotlight, very similar to how they showed in that example video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to interviewer number 1, select that clip, and then in scale, I'm going to put in 70. All right, and I'm just guessing here. And then where it says position, I'm gonna drag this number over to the left and a little bit higher right here. Then I'm gonna go to interviewer number 2. I'll put in 70 as well for the scale. Bring it over to the left. Doesn't need to be perfect right now. I can make changes later. There we go, good enough. So now we have interviewer number 1, number 2, and then I'll bring the guest over as well. So I'll click on guest. I'll put 90 here because I want them to have more of the attention. And I'll bring it over to the left and down just a bit like this, okay? Now, if I think that's too small, I could just go back and put 100. No biggie, okay? Little design tip for you, by the way. Anytime you're working with multiple elements like this, it's always better to have the spacing in here match what you got here, okay? So if I didn't do that, if I just did this, for example, it works, don't get me wrong. It just doesn't look as clean as maybe that does, okay? Just my 2 cents. All right, so here we are. We have now the smoke, the fire, we got everybody cooking, everybody's talking, everybody's having a little party. Now, you're noticing here that the fire and the smoke does not last as long as our entire interview does. So how do we fix that? We just clone it, just like we did earlier. So I'm just gonna hold Option, click, drag it over. And then I'll just move it over to the side like that. Same with the smoke, click, hold, drag it over, bring it so they're right next to each other. And I will just do that for the duration of the clip. Now, obviously, now that I've done that twice, I can select both of them by holding down holding down Shift. Now that they're selected, I can hold down Option now and drag out both. Okay? You get the idea. You just do that for the duration of the clip. Okay? Now, anytime you're working with free assets like that, by the way, free videos, sometimes that is one of the cons, is they only give you 10 seconds. So if this is something you're doing consistently, there are a lot of websites where you can pay a monthly subscription and you get a much longer clip. Something to think about, all right? For the purposes of this is more than enough. All right, so here we are. Next, I will add the logo, the Showtime logo. I'm assuming you probably already got your own logo. I will just find one from Google, which is I already typed it up right here. I'm gonna right click, save image as, downloads, sure, that works for me. Then I will right click, import, and I'm gonna bring down the Showtime logo, boom. And then I'll bring it up top and I will drag it all the way across, okay? It's obviously too big, so I'll click it, go to scale, maybe I'll put in 10. And then I don't know. I think it was on the left in that video. I'm just gonna put it to the right. Put it wherever you want. I'll bring the opacity down to, let's say, 50, and I want it to be red. I want it to be gray. So what I'll do is, now that it's selected, I'll click on the color tab here, and where it says Lumetri color, if you do not see that, you go up to window. You make sure you got a check mark next to Lumetri color. Okay? Now where it says that, you go to saturation right here. You bring this all the way down to the left. There we go. Okay? Last thing, we need to add the names. Let's do it. So, to do that, we will click on this T icon, type tool, and then I'll click over here. I'll put guest. Okay, I'm just typing guest. I will also make sure this clip extends for the entire video. All right, and then I will go up to graphics. Okay, and then I will click on edit in essential graphics. If you don't see essential graphics, same process. Window, essential graphics. Make sure that has a check. All right. Then I will select the font. So I'll just select all the fonts like this. You can do that. You can press Command A or Control A, depending on what you're doing. And I will I'll change the font to, I don't know, let's just say Times New Roman bold. Okay. And it's a little too big, so I'm going to reduce it to, let's say, 60 or so. I'm going to bring it to the middle, right below it, okay? You can also adjust the scale here or here, by the way, okay? And yeah, I'm going to add a little background. So I'll select the background. I will select the background color. I'll just do like a little white, brownish, yellowish thing. Okay, which means I need to change this font actually to black. So I selected the font under fill. I will move this to black. Boom. Okay, and I want to give the background a little bit of space to breathe. So let's just put 25 here. For the opacity, I'll put it at 100%. Actually, you know what? Let's put it at 90, just so we can see a little bit through. And then the border radius, which is what this means, corner radius, whatever, I will put in 5. Okay, and there we go. All right, so we have guest. All we need to do, click that. Now that let's assume we've designated that as our go-to title. I'm actually going to bring this down just a tad, just so we have a little bit of breathing room. And then I'm going to clone it. So hold down Option, bring it up. We have another one. So I'm just going to bring that to the left. There we go. Type in interviewer number 2. In this case, it's too big, so I'm going to select them all, and I'll reduce the size, let's say 50. That's good enough for me. Bring it up over here. Center like that. That looks good. And then finally, I will just duplicate this last one. Bring it up as so. There we go. Interviewer number 1. Okay. Again, you can move these things however you want, but there you have it. we have completely transformed our Zoom video. Imagine how much more your audience is going to be engaged to your content when you spend just a few minutes here adding some cool effects, some graphics, and you just make things a lot juicier to work with. I mean, look at this fire. Who's not going to be engaged with that? That's obviously too bright, but you get the idea here. You can modify all of this to your liking. You can really take up your content to the next level, okay? I hope this video was helpful. I really do. If it was in any way, shape, or form, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Oh my God, before you even do that, I forgot to tell you how to export this thing. Hold on a second. To export the video file, what you're gonna do is you're gonna select the sequence, okay? The sequence has this little icon here that's different than the rest, all right? By default, it'll name the sequence the same thing as your original file. So my original file was zoom_0. The sequence is the same name. Once it's selected, you go to File, then you go to Export Media, all right? And then you can select, Adobe Premiere does a great job of giving you some presets, so you can just hit a drop down right here, and you can go to High Quality 1080p HD, which is what I would recommend. And then you go to Export to change where you want to save it, which right here it shows you where it's going to be saved. If you want to change that, you can just click the file name and then select wherever you want to save it, okay? Then you hit Export and you're done. And that's it. Entire process, all right? Again, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, now you can give this video a thumbs up. Also share it with anybody that needs it. And if you have any questions about any of this, let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to address them. Either way, I really hope this was helpful. I really want people to start producing more amazing Zoom videos, just given the nature of what's going on in the world. Who knows how long all this virtual content is going to last. So thought this was helpful. Anyways, if it was, I will talk to you guys soon. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks everyone for watching. See you guys later. Bye-bye.